There we go, everyone. We are back again for another fantastic conversation on Friday Night Counter Attack. We're rocking and we're rolling. It's a late night one this week, but it's going to be a good conversation. Salim, back again. New season, new seat, same old Villa top. How you doing?
Yeah, I had to bring the Villa top back. Can't believe the season started. It came across. I mean, it just came so quickly in the end, especially us having a bad pre-season as well. But not too fussed about that. One game in, one win. It was a good away day as well, actually.
You need to tell me all about that in a second as well before we get into it. But as for this podcast, all we're going to be talking about is Premier League related topics. The big story this week is Enzo Maresca letting Raheem Sterling go, Chilwell go, and Chalobah go because he's looking to freshen up this Chelsea side, and it's looking a very, very poor situation. We will be talking about Aston Villa and Unai Emery's fantastic start of Salim's away day in London, which is great. I'm off to the East End next week, so that'll be good fun indeed. Man United also winning against Fulham last week, which was a great start to the Premier League season. 21 is coming. We are going to win a league title sooner rather than later. And of course, we'll be talking about some of the big moments in the Premier League coming up this weekend as well. But Salim, first things first, we do have to talk about Raheem Sterling. We do have to talk about the guy that has kind of made a big noise this week for putting out a statement with the whole Chelsea situation that's going on as well. Most of these players aren't going to be getting a lot of time in the Premier League this season, let alone in the Conference League or in the League Cup or the FA Cup as well. Enzo Maresca has stated his case that this is the way that it's going to be at Chelsea Football Club, and he's looking like he's buying into this Todd Bowley system under this clear lake viewing as well. I want to hear your thoughts on it. I want to hear your thoughts on where it leaves Raheem Sterling, and I want to really understand why this has happened at Chelsea Football Club.
I mean, it's a bit strange what's going on at Chelsea. Like you can kind of see like what the model is. They're trying to sign obviously players that they can sell on for more value. So a lot of like younger players are coming in. But again, it does seem a bit scattergun, like the number of players they're bringing in. There's no way they're going to integrate. And Maresca was quite clear, saying that he's only working with 21. But I feel like that was a big mistake. He sort of just killed the value of a lot of players. Sterling's value just completely, knocked off at least 20% just by the statement of, taking that shirt number off him. They could have ran it a lot better. But yeah, I know the thing about Sterling is people do forget, he forced his way out of Liverpool anyway. So
Mm.
there is that. So because I did obviously have some sympathy for him in that sense, but yeah, I think the treatment of players hasn't been good at all. I think Villa done well to go in and get Matson, but now Chilwell's for sale as well. I'm sure he was captain or something last year. Conor Gallagher, he was vice captain or captain last year as well. So they're they're just not sure what's going on there. Either it could work out and everyone's going to be like Bowley mastermind of everything, but I personally can just see people going out on loan in Jan or next year. Like how Felix was one that I feel like he should have joined us. I know he's picked Chelsea and wish him the best, but I just feel like in 12 months' time he's going to be available for loan because I mean I don't know if it really worked out last time or not. I didn't
He
really watch
didn't.
him enough.
He had the red card in his first game against Fulham. Then he was injured. I think he only scored 4 goals in the 6 months that he was there for Chelsea, and that was including playing in the Champions League as well. So it's going to be a very, very difficult time for João Felix to get into this team because,
Mm,
as we saw last season, Salah, there's only probably 3 players that really played well consistently across the season: Malo Gusto, Cole Palmer, and probably you probably say Axel Disasi at a
yeah,
stretch if we want to talk about that as well. But that was under someone like Maurizio Pochettino, who was really good at man management that we saw at Tottenham, that we saw at Southampton as well, but you couldn't really crack it at Chelsea.
yeah.
Where do you see it going with Enzo Maresca after that 2-0 defeat to Man City at Stamford Bridge on the weekend?
I know it's still early days. You can't really just say he could go on and win the next 37.
Mm,
He's obviously going to need time, like we always say. I feel like personally they should have just kept Poch.
yep.
He did quite well towards the end of the season with what he was given. He got
He
six.
got them
So
into sixth as well, yeah, which was
yeah, so
good.
I feel like he sort of got, got a bit of hard time by the Chelsea fans. Obviously they'll have their reasons. I don't really watch, see what's going in on behind the scenes, but I feel like they should have stuck with him in the first instance. And now that Maresca's come in, relatively unproven in the Premier League. I feel like I don't know if things click for them. I feel like fifth Champions League would be a good finish for them. That'd be really good for them to aim for if there's 5 spots. But if not, it could just be mid-table this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I'm looking at it and I'm looking at all these teams that have improved. We've seen West Ham improve, Newcastle improved as well. It's just the fact that they had that late surge last season when they were inspired by Cole Palmer throughout the entire
Mm,
season in goals and assists. And I'm looking at someone like Christopher Nkunku, who was injured for the whole of last season, and it wasn't looking great for Chelsea. But I have believed that Christopher Nkunku will be a shining light for Chelsea this season. I'm really excited to see what he has to bring. I hope he plays in his right position as a little false nine where he gets Palmer on the wing and he gets Pedro Neto going forward.
mm.
But for me, I don't really get why the hype is still there for Mikhailo Mudryk. Is not really going to do it for me if he's going to be a starting player for Chelsea or on the wing for Chelsea, because there's going to be a lot more to come from Pedro Neto, from João Felix as well. It's going to be very, very difficult. Is there a player you're really looking forward to from Chelsea, apart from Cole Palmer, that you think, you know what, they need to stand up and kind of take this season by the scruff of the neck?
You know what? Actually, for me, I'm actually looking forward to seeing Pedro Neto play. He's somebody that excited me at Wolves. He was like quite a good player. I think we were linked with him at one time, but obviously nothing really materialized in that sense. But
Mm.
he's one I'm actually really looking forward to seeing. Caicedo, Fernandez, I don't really think it's worked for them so far at Chelsea. I just remember that Villa midfield of McGinn, Louise, and Kamara just bossing them that day. So I think,
I've seen Kobe Mainoo boss both of them, which is crazy
yeah,
to see as well.
yeah, Kobe Mainoo as well. But I just feel like there's a bit of an overrated element to them too, and sort of overpriced as well.
This is where
Um,
Lavia will come in, Dewsbury Hall will come in
yeah,
as well. I
but
thought Gallagher
Lavia
would have done pretty good there as well, but he didn't.
uh, again, like Dewsbury Hall, I get good signing, but what does he give you that Gallagher didn't?
Yeah.
It's a bit of that, he's one of their own Chelsea boy, and they just moved him on. But yeah, it's probably going to be Pedro Neto. He's probably the one that I'm really looking forward to seeing. There's no one else that there are some really good players across the club, but like Mudryk again, I'm not too sure. 80 million, whatever it was, Arsenal wanted him as well, but he's done nothing. He's done nothing for me. There's so many better players than him. Personally, think they should have kept Sterling over him, if anything.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on Raheem Sterling right now is he's one of the most decorated English footballers of all time. The fact that he's been disrespected so much by the media, by his
Mm,
fans, by a lot of ex-players as well. It's crazy to think about Raheem Sterling's only 29 years of age as well. He's done so much in English football, and for him to be treated like that, and people are saying, "Oh, why is he putting out a statement?" Normally, you see clubs putting out the statement before a player, but
mm,
now the players put out the statement. And if you remember last season as well, when Jadon Sancho did it against Eric Ten Hag, everyone was going on Sancho's side. Now
yeah.
this time around, everyone's going, "Oh, Raheem Sterling shouldn't be complaining because it's up to the club and the manager." But actually, it goes to show that it's been really, really disrespectful because Pedro
I mean,
Neto's
yeah,
now taken
it
he's
is up to
taken
the club.
Sterling's shirt as well, which is
It is
crazy.
it is up to the club and the manager
Mm.
ultimately, but there should be some sort of dignity and respect, behind it. You shouldn't. I think it's wrong just to force him out like this, 11 days to go, taking his shirt number off him and stuff.
Because a
The
lot of
the
people are
cur-
saying it's just down to getting rid of a lot of English players. So Sterling English, Chilwell
Hmm,
English, Chalobah English, Gallagher English. That's why it's kind of saying that, oh, it's
maybe,
not really
but
looking good.
if you look at what Emery did at Villa, I'm obviously going to come back to my own club, but he sort of
Mm,
sat down and spoke about every single player, and he pretty much said if whoever doesn't want to be here or wants to leave, then we'll get the value for them and they can move on. It's not a case of like we only want people in the building that want to be in the building.
absolutely.
So just the same way, they should have just sat down. And, he's been at Chelsea for a while now, Maresca. He should have just sat down and thought, these are the players I want. These are the players I want to move on. And just tell him like, you're not part of my plans, and then actively get the agent there looking for trying to get a transfer sorted for him. And
Absolutely.
and
It
you know
should have been
what?
done in pre-season.
You can protect the value of the player. He moves early on in the window, so then he can get a pre-season somewhere and settle in. If Sterling's moving out of London as well, there's that element to it. So you could have had all that sorted out beforehand, and then you can give the shirt number once the player's departed as well. Just the way that they've done it is just wrong, and it's one of them where it looks like he'll come back to bite them.
Definitely. Nah, it's crazy to see how it's happened at Chelsea, but it's something that I thought I needed to speak about straight away because I'm a big fan of Raheem Sterling, big fan of what he's done, even though he's played for
Mm.
three of my ops as well, Chelsea, Liverpool, Man City, but I'm a big respectful fan of Raheem
But he's got
Sterling
he's
as
got
well.
numbers, right? He's got really good numbers.
Got really
I
good
think
numbers, going to go down
he's
as a
won
Premier League
trophies.
legend.
What I mean? He's won trophies.
It's going to be big. It's going to be big to see where he goes next. And I personally want to see him playing abroad as well. We did a Instagram Q&A today as well, and a few people saying Aston Villa. I thought it was you trolling at first, but it
Honestly,
wasn't.
I'd
I was
even
like,
vote. I'd even vote for Villa on him.
it
That's what
was
I
crazy
get.
to see. I was like, oh, Aston Villa would be good for him. Like, really? Sterling,
No, man.
Bailey, Watkins. Oh, wouldn't mind that.
Nah, he's not for us, unfortunately.
Wouldn't mind that at all. Now that's all good. But yeah, one thing that I did like about the Premier League this weekend is Ipswich played against Liverpool, and the big name that was taking everyone by surprise at Ipswich was unfortunately Ed Sheeran. But I'm not really going to talk about Ed Sheeran. I'm going to talk about another player, Ali Al Hamadi. Ali Al Hamadi is the first Iraqi footballer
Yeah,
to
yeah, he
play
is.
in the
Yeah,
Premier League. That's 124 different nations to ever play in the Premier League, Salim, and not one of them has been Indian. We're underrepresented here, Salah. This is not
no,
looking good
yeah.
for us. Not yet. Fingers crossed, we're nearly there.
It's
Oh,
quite interesting you mentioned that because we had Ali Samata a few years ago, in that 2019-20 season, and he was the first Tanzanian player to play
yes,
for Villa. And I remember the hype behind it. Like, it was such a good thing, for the country as well. Like, so many of their fans and stuff, as in from the country, were like on Villa's page and stuff, congratulating him. And it's such a big thing. And, he scored a Prem goal as well. So, that's something we added
and he
into
scored
the
in the
history
Carabao Cup
books.
final as well, against Man
Yeah, he
City,
did
which
bullet
was big.
header. Yeah,
Great finish as
it
well.
felt a bit. I think he was a decent player. He just didn't really do as well as he could have for us. I think he was quite unlucky with the COVID situation, and obviously coming in January for someone like that was always going to be difficult.
It's true. It was really big as well because it was Dean Smith's first season in the Premier League as well. And then
Of
COVID hit
course,
and it
yeah,
all changed as well, which was
yeah,
insane. For me, I kind of remember when Henrik Mkhitaryan joined Manchester United because it was the first Armenian player in the Premier League as
yeah,
well.
yeah,
So it's the
yeah.
fact that everyone who's like Armenian was just going into Manchester and just like, oh, this is great to see an Armenian fan base coming in to
It's
support
good,
Manchester
like
United.
it's massive internationally what you could do for your club. Like you look at Son, you look at South Korea, like it's crazy, how much you can get your brand, that global awareness across. It's something that Villa are doing quite well at the moment, actually.
It's true. There's
Um,
so much to go through as well. Like I'm going to send you the link of this later and I'll put it in the description of the podcast as well. I'm looking through 124 different nations as well. We probably couldn't even name
mm,
124. Well, you probably could. You're
I
very good at
I
geography.
nah, I don't think I could. I don't think I could that.
It'd be a good game to play one day, which would be good fun indeed. But no, that's kind of the intro done for our podcast as well. So Sam, talk to me about Aston Villa. Talk to me about your first away day of the season. Is much better than you going to St. James's Park last season. You
Yeah, I
went to
know.
East London this time. Tell us about it.
Yeah, do you know what? I've been to London many times, as you know, stayed in London, whatever, but I've never done a London away day. I've been to the Bridge twice to watch Chelsea. I've been to Wembley multiple times, but it's not, proper away day really. So this was my first ever proper away day, and it was at West Ham. Initially there were some fears, with the sort of situation in the UK as it was with the riots and stuff, but obviously that
Yeah.
all calmed down, which was great. And
Dare I say probably went to the safest place in the country, London. London
yeah,
or
that's what I was
Yorkshire, probably
saying.
the safest place. Would have been crazy.
So yeah, so obviously drove down, brother drove down, and it was a bit weird actually because I hardly ever drive to London. Normally just take the train, and we drove. We got to Watford Junction and then trained in, and yeah, it was great. It was atmosphere was amazing. It was buzzing. West Ham decent fan base as well. Spoke to quite a few of their guys because they've made some really good signings. Then just singing in the concourse again, some new songs, some old songs, and yeah, it was amazing. It was a great game. I thought we really played well. I thought we were a bit unlucky. We should have gone a few goals ahead early on. You could see, sort of the new signings as well and players that were there from before, like Morgan Rogers. I can already tell him he's going to have a big season. Ramsey was quite injured last season and injured quite a lot of last season. He's going to be a big player for us again this year. And, the performance was great. Fans were great as well. And then just singing, just on tap towards the end, should I say. Yeah, so great away day, and then ended up on Edgware Road.
Lovely.
Had a nice shawarma. Shout out Cafe Helen for the goods, so that was quite nice as well. And yeah, ended up back home at like 2:30 or something, I think, in the night, where early
Easy,
morning.
easy as can be. Nah, it's good to see because
It was because of the late kickoff, wasn't it? The 5:30 kickoff in
5:30
London.
kickoff, and because you drove
Yeah,
back as well, which was crazy. Because
but
for me, it's like
yeah,
I just got gas because you mentioned about Edgware Road. It was like we had ice cream there one time, which was quite fun
yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
we did. But it's one of them where if, I would have preferred it to have been a 1:30 kickoff or even a normal 3 o'clock kickoff, and I would have been able to spend a bit more time in London. But with it being a 5:30, it was quite tough. By the time you're getting back across, to Central, Marble Arch, whatever, it's already like 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Exactly, he's a bit of a killer. But yeah, the Aston Villa player that you mentioned, Morgan Rogers, I do want to hear more about him because we heard about Emi Martinez's contract extension and him changing his number. We've seen Moreno being linked with a move to
He
Nottingham
signed.
Forest,
He
signed
signed.
already.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There we land. Perfect. There we land. I love it. But now, talk to me about Morgan Rogers. I want to hear more about him because he's got a big season coming up. There is going to be Champions League football for him from being at Middlesbrough last season to Aston Villa in the
Mm.
Champions League this season. What's his best starting position for you under Unai Emery? Where does he fit in? And what's his key strengths that we as neutral fans can look forward to this season?
See, so when he actually joined from Middlesbrough, I remember at the time it was about 8 million up front, and I think it's about 6 million on add-ons.
Yeah.
You know what? Initially, actually, this is going back quite a bit, but when we sold Jack for 100 million to Man City, he was actually part of one of the deals they put together. They said 90 million
Yeah.
plus Morgan Rogers, and even myself at the time thinking, who's this guy, Morgan Rogers? I don't want him. Just give us just give us the release clause. We don't want this next guy. He's not even worth it. But anyway, long story short, so he ended up joining, and a lot of fans were like, "Oh yeah, we've Middlesbrough have got Villa here. They've scammed him. They've taken crazy money for some guy that's just a championship player." And even when he joined, actually, he wasn't even meant to be sort of part of the first team picture immediately. It was one that we were meant to sort of ease in. But with the injury situation, as you know it, and getting deep in Europe, we kind of relied on him. And at the start, he wasn't great. I remember when he first started playing, got hooked off a few times, or he was just a bit like a bit slow, or wasn't as sharp as the other Prem players. And you could just tell that he was a championship player, and that's something that I said, and Unai Emery said it as well. He kept telling him, and Morgan brought it up saying that, "Oh, the gaffer tells me I'm just, I'm still a championship player. I need to become a Premier League player." And it just clicked for him. And the next thing you know, he went on a scoring run. I was there for the game against Bournemouth. Actually, scored a great goal. But for the neutral fans, he's for me. He can play anywhere in those forward positions. He's a big guy. He's over 6 foot. I think he's 6'2", powerful. I see him as a second striker. I feel like in that
Do
10
you see
second
him as a
striker
do
role,
you see him as a Dele Alli type of player, the way that he plays? Or is he more of an
kind of.
attacking striker?
Kind of, but you know what? He's actually got a lot of pace, and I quite like his direct running. So he's one of his strengths is that he's really direct, and he can take players on. I feel like he's such a powerful runner. When you see him picks the ball up in his own half, and he'll carry 40 yards, 50 yards, and I feel like that's some great talent. He complements the way that Ramsey plays as well. So for me, I think for me, second striker, powerful guy, can get you out of tight situations and ultimately get you a lot of yards on the pitch.
Yeah,
But
it's something good.
hopefully we see a 15 GA season for him this year.
It's going to be good to see how he does because you've got Leon Bailey, who's going to be fantastic. You obviously lost one of my favorite players, Musa Diaby. He went off to
Yeah,
Saudi Arabia as well, and that was only after one season as well. So I wanted to see
I know,
more
I
of
know.
Musa
He
Diaby.
was Diaby signing him. I remember last season the transfer saga on that one as well.
I
Being
was
Al
so happy
Nasser.
about that.
It was one of them where it was when we signed him. I was like, oh, this is quality. This guy's going to get us towards the Champions League, and his numbers were quite good at the end. I think 19 goals and assists, but it was a bit difficult for him at times, in the Prem, and it always was going to be most players that come from the Bundesliga. You tend to need like 12 months sort of to get into it, but
Get used
it
to the
was
physicality of
one
it.
of yeah, it was one of them where I'd prefer to have kept him, quality player, but equally at the same time, with the sort of PSR situation and then the Champions League financial situation as well, that we're just restricted. And when the offer came in and there was a chance to make a decent profit on him, Villa ultimately just decided to cash in, and whatever Unai thinks is the right thing, then we're all backing him and we're all behind him.
Yeah, it's true. It's looking good for Aston Villa, and you've got a big game coming up on the weekend against Arsenal in the afternoon as well, 5:30
Yeah,
kick off on Sky Sports, which would be cool. But yeah, let's pivot away from that. Let me talk about Manchester United for a bit
yeah, that's
because
fine.
there are more talks about Manuel Ugarte signing for Manchester United from PSG after just one season at PSG, which is incredible to see. I'm really, really excited to see how this has happened. I'm very, very happy with the transfer dealings that we've done. We've not been ruined in the transfer market like we have been for a few years
Mm.
now. So I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts from a financial point of view as well. Seeing us sign Joshua Zirkzee, Len Yoro, Matthias de Ligt,
Yeah.
Mazraoui, and almost Manuel Ugarte for around £50 million as well. What's your thoughts on the signings, just on paper, not from what you've seen so far? Because I doubt if you've seen them, fine, fair enough, that's absolutely fine. But what's your thoughts on the signings so far? Because I'm really excited for all of them, and I'll go through them player by player in a bit.
Well, the one on Euro, he was a bit unlucky because he get injured in his first game, or was it in training before his first game he got injured?
Second game of preseason, he got injured.
Second game, yeah, I remember he got injured quite early on, so that's quite unlucky, especially when you get someone new and you can't wait to see them play and make their debut, and next thing you know they're injured. So that one wasn't, no, that's not obviously great. Zirkzee, he's someone that looks decent, but for me, for you guys actually, it's Hoyland that you want to see push on. He's got that number 9 shirt as well now. Sancho's back. That's an interesting one to see what's going to happen with him.
Very interesting. I thought we should just hold him and then just spend more money elsewhere or saved it because
Um,
Jadon Sancho clearly doesn't look bothered. And from what I was watching at the Carabao Cup final, that penalty was just awful. That run up was so poor. But it's
yeah,
more his mentality when he comes on. You can see the performance level and the pressing level drop when he
mm,
comes on because he doesn't believe in the system. He doesn't believe in Ten Hag's way of playing. And it really, really annoys us as a fan base. And I
yeah.
got to see Raheel and Arif after the
Oh, that's
Carabao
good.
Cup after of the game, and then Arif was
Wembley. Yeah.
yeah Wembley. So Raheel was like, yeah, Sancho's crap. I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
Sancho's
the
crap.
Community Shield was it?
Community Shield, that was it.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, yeah.
And then Arif was just like, yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I'm like, no, no, it's not good.
Nah,
It's
it's
not what
not.
you want to see. It's not what you want to see at all. It's good seeing them as well, which is nice. But when you're talking about someone who you want to build for the future, you want it to be Jadon Sancho. I think he's only 23, 24 years old,
Yeah,
but he
he's still
needs to
young.
start
Yeah.
doing it. He needs to do it now. And it's really, really worrying to see that he's got so much time on his hands and he doesn't seem to grasp it with both hands in terms of he's at Manchester United. He can make that position his own. He doesn't fight for it enough, which really, really annoys me. And every single start of the season, I always have this
Mm,
conversation. Is this Sancho season? Is it make or break? I remember making edits and reels for our podcast after every
yeah, I
single beginning of
remember.
the
Yeah.
season. I'm just like, I'm not doing it this season because it's just a joke because I want to see Jadon Sancho flourish. But hopefully he can do it. And hopefully we'll be able to see more and more of this going forward. But no, it's looking good because with Manuel Ugarte as well, he's been
Mm.
into like a Uruguayan N'Golo Kante. So I'm looking forward to seeing how he and Kobe Mainoo kind of sit in this midfield together. But there was a player I really, really wanted this summer, and we didn't get him.
Who was that?
You got him, Amadou Onana. I'm a big fan of
Oh,
him.
you know what? Well, I was
Big,
gonna
big fan.
just gonna push on before I talk about Onana, but Delit was a good signing, I think.
Mm.
But it's one of them where you see how he does in the Prem, but he's one I'm looking forward to watching for you guys. I think he'd be quite good.
Just
Ugarte, he'd be quite a statement one as well because I think we were linked with him before. But
yeah,
talking about Onana, and we were linked with him. I was a bit like, do we need him? I'm not sure. But then I sort of did a bit more research, watch some YouTube clips, as you do, and sort of turns out that
Scout Asylum coming out.
everyone's the best footballer in the world on YouTube. Even I could get a signing, pro deal off it. And
Cold Salah.
yeah, after watching him play, I realized, that Everton system just wasn't right for him. And obviously, watching him in pre-season, I was like, yeah, this guy's the real deal. And then watching him at West Ham, completely dominant
Mm.
in both boxes across the whole pitch. Covered every blade of grass. Attacking, defensive. He can do everything. Surprisingly, a player with that build can do everything. He tackles really well. He gets the ball back, puts fires out all over the pitch. It's one of them where, like, if the system isn't working on that day, you can have an off day. Someone like that can just bet is a get out of jail free card. That player.
It's true. And the fact that he can kind of do it all and is still so young as well.
Mm,
Belgium international, working with Yuri Tillemans, his international teammate, is going to be a big bonus for him for club and for country. But the thing that I liked about Amadou Onana this season, I've spoken about him on like 3 different podcasts already, but it's great to see that I love him already. He's asking Unai Emery to speak to him in Spanish. So he learns 6 different languages. Six
mm.
different
Yeah, it's
languages, son.
crazy.
He just
It's
wants to
crazy.
learn, and I love it. It's great to see what he can do, which is really fun to see. But no, back to Manchester United, we've got a game against Brighton and Hove Albion on the weekend as well. If I'm going to focus on a player that I would really want to talk about, I think we've got to talk about Mazraoui. He had a fantastic debut for Manchester United, a clean sheet against Fulham. He dealt with Alexander Iwobi and Smith Rowe really, really well, which is really, really suitable for us to see
Mm,
as Man United fans because we've been used to seeing such a defensive right back in Aaron Wan-Bissaka for so many years now. And for someone who can play a first touch, he can play passes forward. It's really, really enjoyable to see. And it's good to see also another Muslim footballer at Manchester United. When it's your club, you kind of appreciate it a bit more as well, which is quite fun to see. But Salim, I kind of need to ask you your thoughts on Manchester United this season as a whole, with Eric Ten Hag still staying as manager. I've already said my thoughts. I think we're going to get fifth this season. I don't think we're going to make top four. We'll miss out on it just ahead. Annoyingly, I put Aston Villa and Tottenham ahead, so it's not going to be looking good in the group chat for me. But it all for me depends on how Marcus Rashford plays. Because if he's playing on that left wing, if he's going to hit 30 goals a season, great. We're going to get third. We're going to get fourth. We're going to get a trophy. But if he doesn't hit it, if he hits 10, 12 goals in the season,
Mm.
nah, five got fifth, sixth, maybe seventh in the Premier League this season. What's your
See,
thoughts?
I feel like United did the right thing, sticking with Ten Hag,
Mm.
giving him that time. This is obviously going to be a massive one for him now because it's season four, I believe,
Season
Ten
three.
Hag. But it's season three, yeah. So,
Yeah.
so this is the season in it because you sort of want to look at it in a 3 year cycle. It was a 3 year
Yeah.
project from the start. It's won a couple of trophies as well. Fair play to him on that. But for me, I just don't feel like United are there yet. I think Ugarte will be a great signing. And I feel like if you get fifth or fourth, that UCL spot fifth or fourth, I think that'd be an amazing season for you guys. I feel like you'll finish below
Absolutely.
us, but I feel like you'll finish above Liverpool. And I don't know, I feel like you could finish above Spurs too.
Spurs are just they're just a crazy one. We'll get on to Spurs in a bit, but it's like with Man United, it more depends on their attackers than their defenders in a way because we never really have that consistent player every
Mm,
single season. Like with Ollie Watkins has been fantastic for Aston Villa for a couple of years. Heung-min Son for Spurs has been fantastic since he's been there, which is great to see. Haaland, don't need to mention him. Saka, don't need to mention him. But for Man United, you can't go, oh, Man United fans can hang their hat on Marcus Rashford.
yeah.
Because we can't. We're not going to hang our hat on Xerxes because it may be Xerxes and Højlund being rotated as
Mm,
well. The only one we can rely upon is Bruno Fernandes, and he creates so many more chances for us, which is great to see.
he's a
But
great player.
is a great playmaker, is a great player, but we saw against Fulham, he misses very good finishing chances because finishing is not going to be his strongest suit. It's a great shot, got a great shot on him, but not going to be finishing in and around the box as well. So this is where I think, you know what, it could be a big, big game for Manchester
Mm,
United against Brighton because they're going to be playing with Welbeck, João Pedro, Minter as well. So they're going to have some great
mm,
attacking players on their side as well. But yeah, let me hear your thoughts on your top four because we've got it on Instagram as well. You shared it with us as well. Do
yeah.
you really think that is going to be a case of Tottenham not really finishing in the top four after a second season with Ange Postecoglou? What do you think?
Well, I don't know, like top. Well, I think it'll be City, Arsenal. Those two are there at the top.
I'm going to get it up on Instagram so I know you're not changing your mind after match day
Well, I
one.
might be. I might be.
So, just for our audience, Salim actually said Man City, Arsenal, Aston Villa, Tottenham,
And then United,
and then United. Yeah,
and then I think Chelsea, if it goes that far.
it could be. It could be. You never know.
But yeah, that's my top six. I just don't. I can't see Liverpool getting in that top six. Yeah, that's. But the thing is, I don't know. Like moving, we've got Arsenal this weekend, for example, and I feel like we can work on closing that gap because the only problem last season was having that squad depth. But if you look at
Mm.
the squad depth now, the bench that we had, Ilan Junior is not even making the bench. If you compare that to the bench we had on the last game of last season, that were just all like under 20, under 23, like them kind of players. So massive improvement there because that's where we fell apart in that Christmas period. There was those few games against Sheffield United, Man United, a few other ones, Brentford at home. That it just wasn't, that's where we just fell short. But this time round, we've got the squad, and if we can go and close that gap on that top two, then I can't see why we can't come third. In terms of Arsenal, they've got this crazy obsession with us, especially Unai Emery for some odd reason. We don't really care about what they do in that sense. Like I can't see them winning the title, but I actually wanted them to win it last season. But after this sort of crazy obsession with Unai Emery and Arteta, everyone knows that Emery's the better coach,
Do you know how
better
funny?
manager.
It's very funny that you mentioned it as well because it's like all it is just Arsenal fans trying to wind up other Arsenal fans, and then you're just seeing it on like Sky Sports News. Oh, who's the second best manager? You see it on Monday Night Football. Who's the second best manager? Now it's making our way onto our podcast as well. And I'm just like, it's very clear that it's not Mikel Arteta because if you're looking at
No,
it that way, then Arsenal fans have been annoying Spurs fans for years by saying, "Oh yeah, we're doing everything that Spurs are doing." But we're
yeah,
not winning the trophy. We're just
you
coming
know what?
second. We're playing good football,
Yeah,
but we're not winning anything. That's what Arsenal are doing.
yeah, like I mean, we should have a separate episode just for that debate, that sort of Emery, Arteta, whatever. You
Mm.
can have a debate on that separately. But for me, Emery's far the better coach. Emery's far clear the better coach, yeah, than Emery.
Villarreal Europa League, Villarreal
Yeah, I
semi-finals of the
mean,
Champions League.
I don't even have time on this podcast to go over it. But yeah, we'll leave that one there. I'm
Don't
looking
worry,
forward to the game.
for a
Yeah,
fact I'm team
I feel like
Emery.
I feel like we'll beat them again. I feel like it'll be 2-0. So that'll be like three in a row now on Arsenal. But let's see what happens.
Let's see, indeed. That's going to be good. And just to round off the conversation this week, we've got a few big games to be previewing in the Premier League as well. Um, Yeah, we'll start with Brighton versus Man United. So Man United going on their first away day of the season to Brighton and Hove Albion, 12:30 kickoff. So this is where it rather makes or breaks
Mm,
my mood for the weekend as well. There aren't going to be anyone new coming in that's going to be into the squad. Even if we do sign Ugarte, I don't think he's going to make the squad because it will be just
yeah,
after the cut-off
like,
for
yeah.
the squad as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing how it is. But my conversation that I need to have, because I've had it a few times already off camera, is this how Man United are going to play for the whole season with Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes as two false nines? Because I don't see it working
No,
personally.
you need Hoyland to start, don't you?
Yeah,
That's well, I don't know when he's back.
it's back in like September, I think.
Is it? I mean, I'd probably, I don't know, man. Like, I know Fernandez is he's all right playing that false nine. Maybe Rashford, it's time for him to step up and
Yeah,
play as a striker. I'm not
maybe
sure.
it needs to be because I'm thinking maybe this is where we just throw Xerxes in. But if we throw Xerxes in and we take out Mason Mount, who had a decent game against Fulham as well, we just have that whole midfield conundrum again. Because as you remember, Salim, when you have that
Mm,
midfield of Casemiro, Manu, and Fernandez, it just expands so wide, and you're just like, this is very, very bad for Eric Ten Hag. And hopefully, this is where his fix is now with having a big gap. And Casemiro's looking a lot leaner, he's looking fitter as well. So maybe this is a promising sign for Manchester United. But we have to talk about Brighton. We have to talk about how they obliterated on their opening game of the season against. I mean, did you see that? Did you see that game
mm,
against Everton? It was ridiculous.
yeah.
The manager is like 2 years older than me. It's like 4 years older than you, Salah. 31 years of age. It's insane. Mitoma's back, world best scorer. My boy Simon
Mitoma, yeah.
Adringa,
Mitoma, yeah. It was just, oh man, I feel bad for Everton, but it was just classic Everton, wasn't it? Ashley Young red card and then just downhill.
just Dyke
You know,
ball.
but I know how it feels. You wait like 90 odd days or something for the first game of the season, and it happened to us at Newcastle. Albeit we did play quite well, and I came out of that game, and Fergie came out of that game actually saying that we actually played quite well and didn't
Mm.
deserve to be on that end of a 5-1. But that's football for you. But yeah, it's going to be probably a tough one again for Everton. I just feel bad for situation there. The ownership situation that they're going through as well. But yeah, they can't just keep sort of doing this every season. It happened to us, and we ended up getting relegated. So maybe that's what they need. They need to get relegated and bounce, come back up and have a fresh start.
It's true. There's so much they can build toward as well, which is insane. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Everton can do because they want to be in the championship with a brand new stadium,
Mm.
60,000 capacity stadium. It won't look good for them at all. But yeah, back to the Brighton versus Manchester United game, Salim. Can you see a way that Brighton upset Manchester United, or is it going to be one of those where you know what, Brighton have got a lot to take to Manchester United this weekend?
Mm, I feel like it'll be a draw.
Mm.
I feel like it'll be end to end 2-2. That's what I'm going for.
Classic silent response. I like it. It's good to hear as well. I'm going to go for a 2-1 Manchester United win. I think Xerxes starts for Manchester United. I think we're going to have Garnacho starting ahead of Diallo, and we're going to see a bit more fireworks in our attack. So hopefully we can take it to Brighton and start this weekend off right as well, which will
Yeah,
be good. The next game I'm going to suggest before we get to Aston Villa versus Arsenal is Man City taking on Ipswich. Ipswich's first game of the season at home to Liverpool and their second game away
yeah,
to Manchester
I
City.
know.
It does not get harder than that, Salim, at all.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean, I'm looking at it now and I'm just like, Ipswich conceded what, 2 goals against Liverpool? And Kieran McKenna said they played very good football and it looked like it was very good football at the time, which was good to see. So I'm looking forward to seeing how well Ipswich will do. But Manchester City, you've got them basically cruising at Stamford Bridge against Chelsea and Rodri's still not there in the team. Ilkay Gundogan will be returning to Manchester City as well, which is incredible to see. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with this team. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with Pep Guardiola because he's looking at five in a row. And I don't want to be happy about it, but it's hard to ignore what Pep Guardiola can do as well. And it's looking very, very woke right now. Talking about woke football here, Salim. Kieran
Yeah, no, I
McKenna
heard it.
versus Pep Man City. It's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough start, isn't it? But in a way, it's kind of good to get those ones out of the way, and then you can just focus on not playing against these like European teams, European elite teams, I guess.
Yeah. Nah, it's going to be good. Do you see anything good from this Man City versus Ipswich game for Ipswich at all?
It's one of those games, isn't it? I remember Norwich when they came up and they beat Man City 3-1 or something, was it? But that was
Mm.
at Norwich. And I don't know, it's one of them. It's going to be the underdog one, and then I mean, it's going to be one of those games where Man City is going to have like 90% possession. You know, as we know, if Ipswich can do something early on, then and then hold on, it'd be a good watch, good hate watch for a lot of United fans, I guess.
It's true. It really would be as well, which is insane. But nah, I'm expecting a Man City win. If Kieran McKenna does outclass Pep Guardiola, I'll be all here for it as well. It'll be absolutely fantastic to see as well. I'm gonna guess you're gonna predict the Man City win for this one, right?
Yeah, 3-0.
Perfect. That's all good. And one more before we get to the Aston Villa versus Arsenal game, because there aren't many other big games I want to talk about. Tottenham versus Everton. We briefly just spoke about Everton, how they're looking to move to their 60,000 capacity stadium in Liverpool. It could be in the Championship. We don't know how it's going to be. But Tottenham had a very tough game against Leicester City. Jamie
Mm.
Vardy's back. It's good to see him back. So it's good to see Leicester City back in the Premier League as well. But Tottenham Hotspur, I'm looking at this attacking lineup that they've got: Werner, Richarlison, Brennan Johnson, Solanke, Son, Madison as well. They've got firepower there, but have you got any idea who you think should be their front three, their definitive front three, and Kulusevski as well? I've not even mentioned him as well.
I mean, the front three is going to have to be Son, Solanke, and maybe Johnson for me.
Mm.
Although Kulu's obviously around. Again, Spurs, Everton. I feel like it'll just be Spurs win. I think Solanke gets his first goal.
Yeah.
His debut goal, well, not debut goal, his first goal for Spurs, I think, this weekend.
My question for you now, though, with Dominic Solanke, does he score more at Tottenham than he did at Bournemouth last season? Because we spoke about this on the group chat as
I'm
well. So I
trying to
wanted
think
to
how
get your
many
opinion.
got. Well, did he get 18 last year?
Yeah, he got 18 or so last year.
I think it
Dominic
was
Solanke.
18. Do you know what? I think I think he'll land at 15 this
Yeah.
season.
He got
I think he'll
19
get
last
less
season. Sorry, he got
as a
19.
19.
Yeah.
I think he'll land at 15. And I
Yeah.
feel like he'll probably get rotated a bit more here. He was the main man at Bournemouth, everything. Now I feel like he'll probably be subject to a bit of rotation.
Yeah. Because you got
Not as
Richarlison
in
there.
he'll still play a decent number of games because he's paid big money for him and he is sort of considered the main man. But I feel like with the extra games, with Europe and stuff, Premier
Yeah,
League
it's true.
wise, he'll only I think he'll get 15. If he
Yeah,
gets
it's true.
anything less, then it's gonna be a disappointing one considering how much he costs, etc.
Exactly. There's so much going to be right on Solanke as well, especially the way that Ange Postecoglou plays. He wants to play attacking, free flowing, gung ho football every single time. And this high line is going to be a big thing for Everton to look to exploit on the weekend as well. But with Everton, I'm not really feeling much inspiration under Sean Dyche. I know he's a good meme to look at. He's good,
Mm,
got some good players in there as well. But I'm looking at this attack and I'm thinking, new signing Jesper Lindstrom. I want to see him do well. He
mm.
was good in Frankfurt, but he wasn't really good for Napoli last season as well. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is still there. Beto didn't really settle well last season as well. Iliman Dye came in this summer as well. But Salim, is there really someone in this Everton side that you think, you know what, they've got a bit of character about them that you think, you know what, they're going to help Everton survive this season, besides Sean Dyche?
I mean, obviously Branthwaite's still there, generational talent as they call him.
70 million they rejected. How deluded must you be to reject that? That's insane. After 2 seasons at Everton, one on
Yeah,
loan
I
to
think
PSV Eindhoven. Insane
yeah,
that.
PSV that was it. Maybe I think it's going to be him, isn't it? He's going to be the main man
Yeah,
defensively. Yeah,
it's going to be very, very crazy to see how that happens as well. But I'm expecting the Tottenham win in this game. Are you going to agree with that
yeah,
one? Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
Finally, Aston Villa versus Arsenal. I know there are more games this weekend, but Aston Villa versus Arsenal side, and we've got to talk about Arsenal first of all. Arteta looking to win the Premier League, looking to get all of these pickpocketers out of here as well and actually scheme for this Premier League title, which is going to be fun to see. He's taking on Unai Emery at Villa Park. So, as you said earlier, they've already been speaking about who's the better manager. We can speak about it for days, but I think for one of the few things in Premier League football, you and I agree that Unai Emery is a better manager than Mikel Arteta, which is common sense for us to say as well. But Bukayo Saka, Martinelli,
Mm.
Jesus, Kai Havertz. Do you reckon your defense is good enough to stop them? Keep a clean sheet at home. Keep it
Oh
0
yeah,
on the clean
defo.
sheet. Mm,
Yeah, definitely. I'm not worried about that. We've feel like Arteta's got a good squad as well, but for me, I don't know, he's just one of them where I just can't see him winning that Prem.
yeah,
As close as how close he's come, and he's just fallen short. And I can't even imagine how it would feel to just fall short once, and then the second season, you like that first season, they were so close, they were so far ahead, and it fell apart for them.
yeah.
Then last year again, they were sort of second best, and then they were there, then thereabouts. It was between them and City, and then again, fell short. We beat them twice last season, so that was probably it was a contributing factor when every point counts.
That Emirates game was the big factor for Arsenal because they were celebrating drawing against Man City, remember?
Yeah,
And
I
then
know they thought they'd just beat us, and I don't think we had Kamara. We didn't have Louise either that day. I think it was one of them where we were a bit weaker going into it. And that first half, I know Arsenal were the better team, but it was
mm,
part of the Emery game plan. We were just soaking up pressure. And Dibu Martinez bailed us out a few times, and then second half came alive. And when that Watkins goal went in, it was just pandemonium in the stand.
it was
This time,
amazing to see that.
yeah,
It's-
this time round, I'm looking forward to it. Such a big games come early. Like two Champions League teams up against each other quite early on. So it's two heavyweights going. It might be a good time to play them, considering that when it's still early on, some of the players haven't gelled and stuff, and they're a
and some
few
of the players
people
haven't
away
really recovered since the
from
European Championship,
international.
Copa
Yeah, so
America
that's the
too.
thing. Although Ollie Watkins, he doesn't look like fully fresh, match fit yet. So there's an argument there that maybe Duran should start. That's a question mark for me. But I'd probably go with the same team that started at West Ham and maybe change Duran for Watkins. We're still easing in players like Matson. We've got Buendia on the bench. Hopefully he plays a part too. But yeah, for me, it's going to be 2-0 Villa.
That's one thing that really annoyed me, the fact that the Euros finished in like mid-July and then the Premier League
Mm.
starts in mid-August, and then you're just like, all of these players are just coming back knackered. Give these players a break. And it's not because of the Premier League, it's because of the club sometimes as well. So, but then the club can't afford to give them 2, 3 weeks off. And when I was looking back in history as well, 2005, 2015, 2010, a lot of these seasons where people have come back from international tournaments, they came back in September or they came back as sub appearances and didn't start until September. But now you're
Mm.
seeing Saka start after being in the Euros final. Cucurella first came back of the season after celebrating in Spain and meeting Zara, which was crazy to see, and then dyeing his hair. And then you're just looking at it thinking, oh, he starts against Man City. So it
Well,
goes to show that
he got violated by Haaland, didn't
it's so
he?
funny.
Yeah.
Haaland scores against him. Then Cucurella's got his a leg in the air. Like, oh, my days, I'm in pain. And Haaland just laughs past him, which is very fun to see as well. But nah, it's a good return to the Premier League. Very enjoyable to see as well. So much more to learn about as we go through in terms of the tactics of each team, the new managers, of course, we're going to get into as well. Was there a player in the first weekend besides an Aston Villa player that you thought, you know what, they impressed you quite a lot?
Besides a Villa player,
Mhm.
trying to think, what a decent game.
So if you're looking
Um,
at like for me, I mentioned Mazraoui, you got Savinho, who's pretty good for Man
he
City,
was actually Savinho. Yeah, he was really good. It was like watching
Minter,
Mahrez. It was literally like watching Mahrez. And I know Mahrez did the post on it. Like, wait a minute, it's the pure Spider-Man meme, man. He
Spider-Man.
was, he was really good actually. We wear the number 26 as well. It was literally like watching Mahrez. He was quite direct as well. I enjoyed watching him play, and good signing for Man City. That.
That you're looking at them and you're thinking a lot of these left-footed wingers with pace, Salah, Saka, Savinho, Leon Bailey, and then you've got Anthony at Man United and like just stay away, Anthony. Just leave us be. We don't want you there at all. It's not nice to see. Mohamed Kudus, another one, Jared Bowen,
He's a
another
good
one.
player.
Yeah,
Yeah, Kudus is a good player.
which was good to see as well. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens going forward as well. And it's going to be a big season ahead for a lot of teams. But For someone in this week, what we've got coming up, we have to talk about, well, one final thing I want to talk about, Salah, before we wrap up on the podcast is Ivan Toney. We spoke glowingly about him over the last couple of seasons till his betting scandal happened. And it was great that we saw him at the Euros, played his part in when he played, which is fantastic to see. But it looks like he's looking to leave Brentford for Saudi Arabia. And I'm thinking he could still do a job in the Premier League. There's nothing really wrong with him leaving for an Arsenal. Could have gone to Spurs if he wanted to push it further as well, but it's not the case. What's your thoughts on Ivan Toney potentially leaving for Saudi Arabia, Salah?
Yeah, I mean, like he sort of had a bit of a decline. I think it's probably the lack of games. When he came back, everyone thought he was going to hit the ground running, and he didn't really do. Was it 3 goals or something?
Mm,
Feel like Solanke should have been called up over him anyway, so he got lucky to get into that England team.
yeah.
And
After
now,
Solanke had his best season of 19 goals.
yeah, I feel like he's just chasing the bag now. Simply put, and he'll probably end up in Saudi or something, and then maybe after 2 years he'll end up back in the Prem on
Yeah,
loan somewhere. Probably end up on loan to Everton or Brighton. If I was a hazard a guess, they'd probably end up like that, or maybe a London club. He'd probably end up somewhere there, like West Ham on loan or something.
it's true.
But yeah, I feel like he had a chance. He should have maybe moved to United, or maybe he should have taken that Spurs move before Solanke took it. There was talk about Arsenal getting him. I still want to see him stick around in the Prem. I don't want him to just go off, but if that's what he thinks is right for his career, then he knows better than us, right?
It's true. Because with me, what I mentioned earlier about if we sold Joe and Sancho, I wouldn't mind it if we sold Sancho and we brought in Ivan Toney. Cheeky 30
Mm,
million pound bid. It could be something different, but it could be a 2, 3 year stopgap. But I like the fact that Ineos are going for younger players and they are going back to what makes really good development and good projects is buying younger players that you can build and invest for 4 or 5 years or so. I don't think Ivan Toney has probably passed that boat by season
yeah,
two if he was to go to Manchester United. But time will tell. Raheem Sterling, Ivan Toney, a lot of Jadon Sancho, a lot of players still looking for moves in the summer transfer window, and we're not
mm,
done yet. We're what 10 days away at the time of recording from the transfer window ending, which would be great to see. But before we wrap up, Sally, I need to say thank you very much for joining. It's been a great conversation, and just let the audience know who's been your favourite transfer of the summer so far. One from Aston Villa and one non-Aston Villa sign.
my favorite one. Um,
Samuel
my
Illing
fa-
Jr.
nah, Enzo's up there, but
Enzo Maresca.
no, Baranechea.
Oh,
But you know what, Jaden Philogene, Unai Emery as well admitted he made a mistake on that one. That's something I said when he went. But
mm.
his development was crazy at Hull. Maybe him, but I'll probably go for Onana first.
I know it's cold though. It's so cold.
And other signings somewhere else. Ooh, maybe Felix. He's one that I really into at Villa. So I'd probably have to put Felix down as well.
Joao Felix. I love it. That's good to see. For me, so far, my favourite sign for Man United has got to be Matthijs de Ligt. It's fantastic to see. Big fan of Mazraoui, and we spoke glowingly about him earlier as well, which is great to see. But Matthijs de Ligt, when he does get into this starting lineup for Manchester United, maybe it will be with Maguire, maybe it will be with Martinez, but however it looks, it's going to be fantastic to see what happens there. And then my favourite signing this summer. eh, I don't want to say Onana because you already said it, but I'm a big fan of what's happened there with Onana. So I'm going to have to go for someone like, we'll keep it Premier League related as well to make it easier. I think Somerville to West Ham will be a big, big one across the
Mm,
season as
yeah.
well. It'll be a very, very big one because it'll be good to replace Ben Rama with someone more direct, someone quick, and someone with a lot of ambition in him as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing Somerville ball out at West Ham under Lopetegui as well. But that's going to be good. It's going to be a good fun season and hopefully more conversation with myself and Salim as we continue on Friday Night Counter Attack. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. Take care and we will see you later. Goodbye.